So what are the three Sannin to begin with, and how did it all begin? The name Three Legendary Ninja Sannin means three people, or the trio. As genin, the three students were trained under the Third Hokage Sautobi. Despite being a team and having worked with one another and forming bonds and accomplishing great things together, the three members were always in constant disagreement with one another about tactics, battle plans, opinions, and just personality, to be honest, and Tsunade referred to this as the three-way deadlock, which is a reference originating from China during the Han Dynasty, in which the game we know as rock paper scissors, however they used rock, scissors and cloth back then. The game eventually being widespread reached Japan and had a variation of the game in the 1600s called Slug, Snake and Frog. The variation of the game is defined as the frog is afraid of the snake is afraid of the slug, and the slug is afraid of the frog, thus eventually forming into a Sansukumi Ken game or a drinking game. The three animals or objects is referred to as the three-way deadlock. Therefore, the three Sannin in Naruto is using the three animals as summoning jutsu, which further perpetuates the fact that they are the three Sannin, because no one is stronger among them and that they are all equal with one another, either in strength, bond and everything else. The person that gave them the name of the three Sannin was Hanzo the Salamander, for being the only three ninja to survive against him, and in exchange for their lives, they were to refer to themselves as the three Sannin. So who is Hanzo anyways, to have that audacity? I don't know, I'll explain this in another video in the future hopefully. This name would stick with them for the rest of their lives. This was the last battle all three of them ever fought together against someone. It almost happened again in the 4th Ninja War, with the 3rd being resurrected and Orochimaru helping again, but of course everyone's favourite, Jiraiya, was missing. I mean, the three of them were incredibly skilled and powerful compared to everyone else at this time. Each of the Sannin were considered for the position of Hokage after the 3rd at one point. Sautobi preferred Jiraiya, but he wasn't interested. Orochimaru himself applied for the job but got denied because they felt as though the village and the people's interests won't be taken to heart. And then obviously Tsunade eventually became the Hokage later on because Minato and Sautobi died. The eventual trio of animals is rebuilt again in the 4th war with Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura. So what is the story of the three Sannin and the whole animal concept in Naruto is actually influenced from Jiraiya, a myth story called Ogata Shuma Hiroyuki from Japanese folklore. It is literally called the Tale of Gallant Jiraiya. This sounds kinda similar, doesn't it? In this legend, Jiraiya is essentially a ninja who uses shape-shifting magic to morph into a gigantic toad, which is exactly like Naruto but summoning jutsu of course. Jiraiya is a heir to a very powerful clan called the Kyushu. Jiraiya in this tale eventually falls in love with a beautiful young maiden called Tsunade, and she is a master of slug magic. This is getting really similar, isn't it? This is what happens in Naruto too. Jiraiya's arch nemesis is one of his former followers called Yashogoro, and later known as Orochimaru. And Orochimaru is a master of serpent magic, which again essentially happens in Naruto, as Orochimaru is a Defa of Konoha and former teammate of Jiraiya. The two oppose each other in a war between clans, and eventually Orochimaru and the opposing clan are defeated. The story of Jiraiya and, Orochimaru and Tsunade was first recorded in 1806 and first published in 1839, and over the years it became illustrated into novels from authors, eventually becoming plays, TV shows, movies and more. The story of Jiraiya is what Kishimoto based all three characters from essentially, and there are different variations of the narrative which I will go through. Kishimoto in essence took key concepts and elements from the storyline and adjusted it in a way to fit the Naruto universe he created. The inspiration for Jiraiya has its origins from an old legend in the Song Dynasty era China between 960 and 1279. There was a bandit that lived in this period whose real name is unknown. He was a heroic bandit whose acts of charity were similar to Robin Hood. The only reason he was called Zilaye, which is Jiraiya in Mandarin pronunciation, was because he'd leave those characters in graffiti at places he robbed. those characters translated to "I was here." This particular bandit became a legend and made it into a Japanese novel named Jiraiya, and in this kanji it meant Young Thunder. In this novel, it had the elements of shape-shifting magic such as transforming into a toad and ninjas, which we can see in Naruto's universe with Jiraiya shape-shifting into a toad with Sage Mode. So after the first published novels were completed in 1839, part of the story was adapted for the Kabuki Theatre in 1852, so it was becoming more widespread. The variations of the story of Jiraiya and his legend goes something like this. Jiraiya was a young man, successor to a clan in Kyushu. His family fell on difficult times, or another version is his brother stripped him of his birthright to lead the clan. So Jiraiya was forced to go to Ichigo province and began stealing. He was a gallant robber that stole from the rich and gave back to the poor. Further on, in one of his earliest adventures, Jiraiya saved a child from his stepfather who was about to throw him into a gorge to die, kinda like a flashback. He later goes to a mountain called Myoko and saves a frog from a serpent. So essentially, the same elements are in Naruto but different variations. This toad ends up being a wise immortal who lives on the mountain and ends up teaching Jiraiya toad magic and shape-shifting, which allows him to become more powerful, which again we see in Naruto's universe where Jiraiya is taught by the toads on the mountain and is given Sage Mode and summoning jutsus and a transformation. Anyways, back to the original Jiraiya. He eventually uses these powers to kill the parent of the little boy he saved and gets revenge on the guy that ruined his family name. As a gallant ninja or bandit, he travelled Japan and met a princess named Tsunade. She was skilled in slug magic, which she could use to fight and heal. Therefore, Kishimoto implemented this into Tsunade's character in Naruto, with her being the best medical ninja and slug magic and summons. After meeting Jiraiya, they fell in love and got married. Jiraiya then, in his travels, made many friends and companions, and one of them was Yashogoro, who eventually betrayed him and Tsunade, as he decided to take control and gain power all over Japan, which is why Orochimaru in Naruto's universe has these traits too. I mean, both versions of Orochimaru in this folklore story and in Naruto's universe both have the intention to take over a clan. In the folklore story, it's the Tsuchikage clan, and Naruto it's Uchiha. Yashogoro knew the art of snake magic and called himself Orochimaru. Then, as I said earlier, the three-way deadlock began. The snake was able to swallow the toad is able to snatch up the slug with his tongue, and the slug is able to use its mucus to dissolve the snake. However, Tsunade and Jiraiya are a team and working together to defeat Orochimaru, but are tricked and poisoned by Orochimaru with venom. He eventually gets a cure from a maiden who was born on the year, day and hour of the snake, which turned out to be his sister he didn't know that got spared from his clan's massacre. She sacrifices herself to create an antidote for Tsunade and Jiraiya to save them and to defeat Orochimaru. They join forces again years later with the Sword of Nakimaru, which can seal and therefore defeat Orochimaru and his evil spirit. I mean, if this doesn't sound all too similar to Naruto, then what do you guys think? I mean, there is even one more rendition of this story where it's a 14-year-old boy called Rikimatsu that saves them instead, and he knows bird magic, and then they all join forces together to defeat Orochimaru. I guess what Kishimoto did was to use the character of Rikimatsu as Naruto being a disciple of Jiraiya and winning the war, and in the end the people and saving the day. He probably read different variations of the story. The key concepts and elements are still there, and there are definitely some heritage here from the story in the 1800s. Jiraiya and Tsunade eventually become daimyo, and as a reward for what they did, and revived his clan with Tsunade and lived happily. This story has many iterations and variations from different storytellers, but at their core follow the same principles, message and narrative which we see in Naruto as well. Kishimoto was fundamentally inspired from Japanese folklore and the story of Ogata Shuma Hiroyuki. The episode in which Jiraiya dies, for example, is literally called The Tale of Jiraiya the Gallant, which is referring back to the source material, and that pretty much concludes the story you never knew about the phrase Sannin. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Let me know who was your favourite Sannin and why, as well as what you thought about this video or ideas you have for the future. My favourite Sannin is pretty much Jiraiya, Orochimaru a close second. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe as well as follow our social media, of course, to catch up with us on Snapchat or Twitter. We will cover each character separately in the future, Tsunade, Orochimaru and Jiraiya, with a Did You Know series. Peace out and see you guys next time as always.